Warm greetings to all my students. Hope all of you are learning well, and this is all about environmental law. You have inputs about environmental law, and I shall be supplementing your inputs with my teaching module. I'll start my introduction. I am Ashutosh Role. I am working as an assistant professor in Amity Law School, Delhi, which is affiliated to IP University. Now, the module that has been prepared deals on the role of the NGOs. NGOs is the concept of non-governmental organizations in the field of environmental protection. Along with the NGOs, that is non-governmental organizations, I shall also be talking about CBOs, that is community-based organizations, and even the public-spirited persons who have a lot of things to be done in the environmental protection. Now, for the sake of a better understanding of the modules, let us conveniently divide our modules into say 8 to 9 sub-themes or sub-parts. First is that we need to understand what does environment mean. We shall be taking help of the Environmental Protection Act or wherever it has been defined, maybe under some convention, maybe under some governmental policy. We will try to find out what environment means. Then how does the environment get polluted? What are the major pollutants? What are the sources of these pollutants? We shall try to get into that area. How does atmosphere get polluted? Now, these atmospheric pollutants, how they need to be controlled, how the waste management needs to be done, we will have a very layman understanding of it before moving into the state's idea about how to protect the environment, how to go about environmental protection, how do they launch schemes, how does the legislative wing of the government work for it, how does the executive wing work for it, and even how does the judicial wing assist the implementation of these policies. Now, I shall thereafter delve into the fact that the governmental concerns are very high, they are too much into the environmental protection, but nothing in the environmental field can be done single-handedly. It is almost impossible that one authority or one organization or one wing of the government does everything sole-handedly. So, you need to rope in the services of the non-governmental organizations, the community-based organizations, the public-spirited persons, with the help of which the services of all these people, they have to be roped in order to have a better impact on this environmental protection. Then after that, I shall be dealing into the problems which these NGOs are facing and even the darker side of the role of the NGOs. The NGOs, the darker side of it is that their policy orientations, they are not up to the mark. So, that handicaps we shall also be discussing, and after that we will talk about the recommendations, the suggestions, how do we improve upon the role of the NGOs. So, this shall be the entire flow chart of our thoughts, so as to equip you with a better understanding of the modules that you must have gone through or you must have before you. So, we will try one by one in a sequential manner, in a chronological manner, and so that you get a better practical understanding of the things at hand. Okay. So, let us try first of all with the very meaning, the scope, the dimension, the ambit of environment. Now, environment, if you try to gauge the dimension of environment, environment is anything that surrounds me or that surrounds you. Okay. So, anything that is around you, it may be a living thing, it may be a non-living thing, it may be biotic, it may be abiotic, it is anything that is surrounding you. Now, what does this include? It includes the air around you, it includes the water around you, it includes the land around you, it includes the mountains around you, it includes the forestation cover around you, the vegetation cover around you, the aquatic life around you, everything that is surrounding you, that all encompasses what we mean by environment. Now, I will not delve into the technical language, what do we mean by environmental theme and environment as under the different laws. We will just keep ourselves confined to a very basic understanding of the environment and how do we need to protect it. Okay, so environment is anything, it may be air, it may be water, it may be land, it may be rocks, it may be mountains, it may be aquatic life, it may be wildlife, it can be anything that is around us, and all that constitutes environment. Now, moving on to the second issue, what do we mean by environmental pollution? Now, environment, I told you that it is land or air or water, so it can get polluted through multiple sources. let us take a very practical example. Suppose I am moving on a road, I am eating chips. Okay, now I eat the chips and throw off the plastic packet, say of Lay's, onto the road. Now, the thing that needs to be understood is that this plastic is non-biodegradable. Okay, now this plastic, when it goes, you throw it on a road, on a street, and then this forms a part of the garbage. Okay, now that garbage is collected by some municipal authorities, and then again it is thrown, maybe that it is burned. Now, if this plastic gets burned, it emits foul smell, it emits dangerous gases which may pollute the environment. Okay, so this is a plain understanding, a very clear understanding of how a common man, how one man is contributing to environmental pollution. Okay, so this is one general way how we as a commoner, moving on the roads, moving in the buses, moving in the cars, do contribute as a major environmental pollutant. Now, there are municipal waste, there are industrial waste, there are the waste which are generated from the hospitals. All these, they contribute to the pollution of the environment, and knowingly or unknowingly, we are immensely contributing to polluting the entire environment. Now, the next thing is, this may be an accidental approach on our part, this may be a deliberate or careless, casual approach on our part. And the other thing is when we are contributing indirectly or remotely to polluting the environment. Let us say there is a construction going on, say a mall is being constructed. Okay. Now, when a mall is being constructed, you require a lot area. Let us say that a mall is constructed over 6 acres of land. Now, when you create a mall over 6 acres of land, you need to dig the land. Construction, because you are going to construct a huge building, a multi-storied building, you need to dig the land. Now, you dig the land, you contaminate the soil, you cause the soil to be eroded, soil erosion takes place, soil loosening takes place, and it is not only in that 6 acres of land, the adjoining areas, they also get affected. Okay, so another factor is how we are going on causing unsustainable development. We need to have malls, we need to have buildings, we need to have hotels, we need to have buildings for everybody, but that needs to be a sustainable development rather than this casual development. So, this is also, we are contributing to environmental pollution remotely. We as a commoner, we as a builder, we as a person who is in demand of a house, we as a person as in the requirement of an office space, all this is contributing. Now, the major impact of this environmental damage we can see in the form of deforestation, because deforestation happens, resultant impact is caused on the temperature. The temperature rises. When the temperature rises, there is snow melting, the glaciers melt, and then when the glaciers melt, all sorts of the environmental problems are caused. Air gets polluted. So, everything is connected. It is a sequential event that leads to a degradation of the environment. So, this is how we need to understand the impact, and that is the purpose of this entire learning outcome. We are trying to guide you through way of modules, we are trying to create awareness through these presentations, so that everybody understands how is he contributing to environmental pollution. Now, the state, of course, our state, the Indian state is a welfare state. We have moved on from the concept of the paternal state to a maternal state. A maternal state is where you are concerned with all sorts of welfare activities that are diverted, that are focused towards the citizens. Let me give you an example. The legislative wing of the Indian state comes up with a formula which is known as the Environmental Protection Act, enacted in the year 1986. Now, the Environmental Protection Act of 1986 provides a particular skeleton. How do you identify the environment? What are the environmental pollutants? Who shall be responsible for what authority is supposed to do what is the penalty clause? So, that is a major skeleton which is provided by that particular legislation. How do we deal with the environmental concerns? Now, let me make you understand that this primary legislation which is passed by the Union Parliament needs to be supplemented by the rules that come from say statutory bodies, say from bureaucrats, and that is what we call as delegated legislation. So, we have environmental protection rules. Okay. Now, these rules they supplement the main act, which is the skeleton legislation, in order to complement, in order to make the laws actually move in practicality. Okay. So these delegated legislations, they help a lot in moving the laws which have been passed by the Union Parliament by way of additions, by way of modifications, by way of alterations, so that we have the best impact. Now, this particular rule, this particular law is enacted by the executive. The executive frames the most convenient policies to have the best outcome of it. Let me tell you, like we have this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Now, this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is a policy, is an executive policy which needs to be implemented. Now, it needs to be implemented, there has to be an executive agency, there has to be an administrative agency which will execute it. Now, when this policy comes into execution, the entire executive machinery has to ensure that this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan happens, maybe in schools, maybe in on the public streets, maybe in hospitals, maybe inside the trains. So this is an executive policy. This executive policy is based upon either the Parent Act, which has been passed by the Union Parliament, or the Parent Act coupled with that delegated legislation, say the rules which have been passed. And now this is how the entire law that was drafted by the Parliament comes into a practicality. Now, this is how the two main organs of the government, they have been roped in.